It's one of the most awesome careers that any announcer could even dream of. It almost has you said Forrest Gump, other people that might be fans of Woody Allen. It almost has a zealot quality to it. A big event, historic event. You were there. Do you ever sit back and reflect on what an amazing career you've had?
Well, that's part of the reason I decided to do the book, Michael, because I kept winding up in all of these crazy places, Lake Placid and an earthquake at the World Series and a Bronco chase on a freeway and Hagler against Hearns and Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football and all these, unbelievable games. So, I when I sat there, I'll tell you what, when I finished the book and I looked back at it and was just going through it for the last time just to make sure everything was right, it dawned on me that in between two covers would be all of these things. And you're right. I mean, I just keep winding up in all these crazy places. It's insane.
And what I thought interesting, and I just started the book, and you go into detail about going to the 2012 Stanley Cup Final because that's really the only chance you have to sit and enjoy a game. You don't have to do research. You don't have to call the game. And it's a sport you really seem to love.
Don, I've loved it since the day I walked into Madison Square Garden. And it was so long ago. It was the old Madison Square Garden. It was the 8th Avenue Madison Square Garden before they moved it to Penn Station. And my dad took me to a New York Rovers minor league hockey game because the Rangers played on Sunday and Wednesday nights. And I was in school, and those were school nights leading into school nights anyway. And so it took me until I was 8 or 9 years old before I was able to watch an NHL game. But we'd go to these minor league games. We'd go to Ebbets Field. He took me to the football giants and the baseball giants and the Yankees and the Knicks at a time when the NBA had 8 teams and they would play doubleheaders. So we'd go to the Garden on like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and there'd be a doubleheader there, which meant 4 teams. You'd see half the National Basketball Association playing on one day in Madison Square Garden. So as a kid, I loved that. I couldn't get enough of it. Thought about, wow, what a great life it would be to get into all these games for free and just to go every day, and it's kind of been borne out. So as I told Michael today, I keep getting reminded of the words that the great Kurt Gowdy, who was a guy I really admired and loved, and he was a wonderful man. He told me, don't get jaded, and those words still ring in my ears.
You made one of the most iconic calls in the history of broadcasting with Do You Believe in Miracles? And whenever, in doing the Yankees, I get to do a 3,000th hit call for Derek Jeter. Some of those calls that will be remembered, people always ask you, Al, well, did you plan that? Well, I didn't know Derek Jeter was going to hit a home run for his 3,000th hit, so
right.
I couldn't plan it. So let me ask you the question that gets asked to me. When you saw that the USA might win, in your head, did you say, I'm going to say, do you believe in miracles?
No. What I thought at that point, Michael, was the word that came into my head was miraculous. And when the puck came out to center ice, first of all, the Soviets are putting a lot of pressure on. Jim Craig is making a lot of saves in the last few minutes. The Soviets had outshot the U.S. 39-16 in the game, so much of that game was played in front of Jim Craig, and I had to do that game to the end. I mean, can you imagine if you think of something to say, and then all of a sudden the Soviets would have scored with a second or two left in the game? I mean, how stupid would that have sounded? So in those years, it's pre-home VCR. Nobody thinks about YouTube or the Internet or things like that. We're living in a different world. You're not thinking about posterity. All I was doing was calling the game. And somehow the word miraculous came into my head. It got morphed into a question and an answer, and that was that. And if somebody said to me right after the game, what did you say? I don't know. All I was doing the play-by-play and trying to get most of the Soviet names correct, and that was the hardest part of that night.
Now, Al, Don and I have this argument every couple of weeks, and because Don does the Ranger games on radio, and I get to do the Yankee games on Yes, and I just listen to announcers when their color guy steps on them. It makes me cringe. Now, I know you're really close with Ken Dryden, but he did say it's over. Did that bother you in the middle of your call?
Well, I didn't even know it until, obviously the tape got played back. The great thing about Ken Dryden is he has such a wonderful sense of humor. I don't know if you guys, have gotten to know him, but his name is Dryden, and he has a very dry wit. Mm-hmm. And he's always, telling me, if I don't have, it's over, unbelievable, there's really no call. So And in fact, in going through the research for the book, I called Ken a number of times. I talked to him most recently a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, he was doing an essay on in Flanders Fields, the great Canadian poem that is inscribed on the walls of the Canadian locker room. I mean, he is a true Renaissance man. He's a lot of fun, and it was so funny too, because the thing about Ken is he was very untypical of a regular color announcer. In those years, he didn't speak that much because when Ken wanted to say something, he wanted to make it very relevant. And so, of all places to come in, he comes in there. But I think people understand what it was. It's just the other guy getting excited. And before we leave the hockey conversation, I just want to ask Don if, by the way, in the final last year, do you remember who won the Stanley? Never mind, who won the Stanley Cup final?
Big LA King fan.
I know. I just wanted to just let you know that what a series that was, though. Huh? Was that fantastic?
That was a fan, and it was an honor for me. I got to call Game 1 on the radio, and it's something I'm never ever going to forget. And it is a special sport. It really is. And Michael, who doesn't come from a hockey kind of background,
right.
Doesn't realize just how captivating that sport can be. And here you are, 35 years old, calling that in 1980. Is that still the thing that you're the most remembered for? And are you cool with something so early in your career being so noteworthy?
I wouldn't throw that one back.
That's true.
No, that's the 1,000-pound marlin. When people say, what's the most exciting thing that's happened in your career or your favorite moment or favorite memory, that's number one. And that's number one. It'll be number one forever. Nothing can top that because there was just so much that surrounded that in terms of what it meant to the country, not just as a sports event, but just what it meant to our psyche, the national psyche at that time.